back with the latest on the invasion of privacy trial between Los Angeles County and the wife of NBA legend Kobe Bryant. The case got underway yesterday with both sides making opening statements. Vanessa Bryant is suing the sheriffs and fire departments over graphic photos taken by first responders at the scene of the helicopter crash that killed her husband, their teenage daughter, and 7 others.
The lawsuit claims the pictures were shared dozens of times by some of the first responders, including at a bar and an awards gala. For more on this, we are joined by civil rights attorney and former prosecutor Kristen Gibbons Feden. Kristen, good to have you with us. So the county's argument here, they said that these photos have never been in the media or on the internet or otherwise publicly available. So how good is that argument? How much of an impact does that have in this case? And if that changed down the road, if those pics did become public, would that change everything?
Yeah, I think the issue here is that in most cases for invasion of privacy, that would be a compelling argument. But here you have at least 8 deputies. There's an admission that they took the photos unlawfully or not in accord with policy and procedure. And then there was also admissions to distribution. And so when you're looking at invasion of privacy, one of the main substantial things you have to prove is not the extent necessarily of the distribution, but rather the degree of intrusion. And when you're talking about law enforcement officials taking pictures of objectively offensive and personal matters such as the dead remains of a husband and a 13-year-old daughter, certainly it will have a huge impact regardless of whether or not they'll be publicly available. The other thing that's important here is something that Ms. Bryant is arguing, saying it doesn't matter that they're not publicly available now. We have heard rumors on social media that these pictures are being sold on the black web. So I live in constant fear that these pictures could be publicly available for my daughters to see, for me to see in the future. And so she is also making those arguments as part of her emotional distress claim.
Now, Kristen, the county had actually already agreed to pay $2.5 million to settle a similar case brought by 2 other families whose relatives died in this same crash. Does that here suggest that they acknowledge some culpability or anything like that?
Well, I think that the reports from the sheriff, some of the public statements that he made already acknowledge culpability. But in any settlement, there typically is a clause that says, hey, we're going to pay you just to make this go away, but there's no admission of liability. We're not saying we're wrong, but what we are saying is we want this to go away. We don't want this to be publicly aired. So in this particular trial where Ms. Bryant is suing the first responders, it should not be a piece of evidence that the jury will consider because it's highly prejudicial. It should not be something the jury should consider in this particular case. However, we are talking about practical matters and, most jurors are probably going to know this fact and hopefully they will be fair and impartial in their assessment. But if they do know this fact, it may make them believe that the defendants are liable, as you mentioned, and that the damages at least range around $2.5 million.
So, Kristen, as this plays out, what are you going to be watching out for?
One of the important things I, as an attorney, love to look at is how other attorneys distinguish damages. So here you have a claim where, unfortunately, it's so distressing, the fact that she lost her husband, she lost her daughter, notwithstanding the circumstances by which she lost those 2 loved ones. But that's not going to create the damages by which the first responders are liable for. It's not attributable to the first responders. What is attributable is the emotional distress she is suffering as a result of the photos. So what I'm looking for is to see how the experts and the lawyers are able to distinguish the emotional distress she has that's not attributable to the defendants, which is the loss of her loved ones, distinguish that between what is attributable to the defendants if they are found liable, which is the unlawful taking and invasion of her privacy.
Kristen Gibbons Feden, thanks so much for joining us and helping us better understand what's unfolding with this trial. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.